This is the most magnificent discarded living room set I've ever seen.
You're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio.
Okay, now you're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio.
Hey, welcome to Comedy Parenting Radio. My name's Jerry Begley. I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today. Today's topic is church organist horror stories. We've got Nancy with us in the studio. We'll be back in just a minute.
Understanding your finances is a key to a strong financial future. Don't be the one who gets left behind. Visit feedthepig.org for tools and tips to get started on the path to financial stability. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're in here with Comedy Parenting Radio. My name's Jerry Begley. We've got Nancy in here. The topic of the day is church organist horror stories. Hi, Nancy. Welcome to the studio.
Hi, Jerry. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming all the way in from the East Coast just for this and a few other things. And you've been a church organist for how long now?
Oh, well, probably more than 30 years, so that kind of gives away my age, but
Well, yeah, well,
I've got a lot of experience.
You have pushed a lot of pedals in your day, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so church organist horror stories, you wouldn't really normally think about that. First off, you have to have a church with an organ, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you
we're
do.
not talking drum sets or well, maybe drums are involved in your stories. I don't know, but let's get right to it here. So, can you tell me a little story about what may have happened at church while you're playing the organ or preparing or whatever?
Well, generally things go really well, but there have been a few little blurbs and mishaps in my career, such as in the advent of cell phones. I've always kind of been a cell phone Nazi, and turn your cell phones off, don't take it in to the choir loft with you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've heard in the past, in the early days of cell phones, there were churches actually requiring people to park their cell phone before they went into the sanctuary or whatever. Have you ever heard of that?
I've not been anywhere where they do that.
Well,
Most of the churches I'm at, you hear one or two during a service.
It's out of control right now, folks. It's totally out of
It's
control.
totally control, but it's usually not from the organ bench.
Okay, so you've been a Nazi about cell phones in
Cell phone
church.
use. So one day I'm sitting at the organ bench, and this real jazzy ringtone rings, and it sounds like it's coming from the choir loft. And I'm sitting there glaring at everybody, and they're all grinning back at me, and I'm glaring at them, and they're all grinning back at me. And then I realized that my cell phone is there on the console, and I forgot to turn it off, and somebody called me. So in my panic, and this was during the sermon, I just pushed the little side button, and it stopped. And I thought I'd taken care of it. Well, about 5 minutes later, when the pastor was really into the good part of his sermon, it rang again. This time I didn't glare at the choir. They all laughed at me, and that was my last time I left my cell phone on during a service.
Has the pastor or preacher or minister ever stopped a sermon and said, "God must be calling you. Why don't you answer that?" Has he ever said that?
No, he might have said, somebody in the choir loft left their cell phone on. I said, yeah, wasn't that annoying?
I'm thinking like a save during the sermon. Okay. So your own cell phone ringing in the service, even though you're the cell phone Nazi. Anything else ever happened?
Well, one time it rang during a conference. I was in San Diego, and we were at a large United Methodist church. And I sat kind of down front in the middle, and it was beautiful, and it was all these church pastors and musicians. And right during the communion liturgy, my phone went off, and I just was horrified. But that's the only 2 times that's happened to me.
Okay, you're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio. We're going to be back in just a moment.
Treesock Press sells the books that stay on your shelves. When you want books that your guests pick up and read and can't put down, make sure it's one of Treesock Press's comedy books. Get a copy of our new book, Dad, the Tooth Fairy Didn't Come, and your kids will want you to read it over and over and over until you pull what little hair you have left out. When you put your books out into the gutter, you'll feel complete guilt if it's a Treesock Press book. Get your Treesock Press book wherever lousy comedy books are sold. Treesock. It stays on your shelf.
Hi, Comedy Parenting Radio, and we're back with Nancy in the studio. We're talking to her about church organist horror stories. What else is going on in the church organ department these days?
Well, I've done a couple interim jobs, and when you do that, you're at short term at different places, and you run into interesting organs. And the most interesting one I ran into was a little church where somebody in the congregation had taken upon themselves to help keep that old pipe organ going, and they hooked it to a computer.
How old do you think the pipe organ might have been?
Oh, I don't know, maybe installed in the 20s or 30s.
The 1920s or 1930s.
Yeah.
So the person who installed it didn't even know what a computer was.
Oh, no.
Nah.
No.
Maybe before they died, they never even saw a computer.
No. And organs are doing more digital things, or organ builders, but they don't usually have you turn your organ on with a computer set into the side. This one had a little computer set into the side, so that was interesting for me.
So this one was jerry-rigged.
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get on with this computer hooked up to the old pipe organ.
Yeah, so my worst story with that was during Holy Week on Maundy, Thursday. I had practiced in the afternoon and then went downstairs before the service to warm up with the choir. And so I wasn't sure what to do with the organ, if it was going to be let's set for an hour. So I just put it on computer sleep mode. I thought, well, that'll work.
That sounds dangerous in a church service to have sleep mode.
Yeah, well, I put it on that. And anyway, when we came back in, and I'm supposed
By the way, hold on. Do you know what they used to do in the old days when you fell asleep? And do you know what the deacons used to do?
I don't know.
Well, I think this is in the early days of America. If you fell asleep, the deacon would come by with a big long pole with a feather on it, and he would give you a little bit of a tickle, and if you were awake, you would respond right away. If you were asleep, you would kind of like, with the feather. And if you didn't wake up right away, or if you weren't awake right away, he would flip the thing around, and he would hit you on the head with the other end, which had a big brass knob on it. To wake you up. Okay.
Yeah, that's never happened to me. I don't think I've fallen asleep.
Fallen into disuse.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, let's see. I came back up with the choir, and I was going to play a prelude at the beginning of this very solemn service. So I hit the, the enter or the space bar on that little computer to fire things back up. And for some reason, it just engaged the organ, and all the pipes started hollering and bellowing, and it was just a horrible sound. Everybody's looking at me, and I didn't know what to do because that never had happened to me.
And this is at the beginning quiet time?
This is at the beginning of a very solemn service. The organ's just howling away, all the pipes. The air is just going through them. And the choir director was mouthing to me, turn the organ off, turn the organ off.
And you're thinking, no, I'll just let it go for the rest of the service.
So I thought, oh yeah, reboot. That's always the best thing when a computer gives you trouble. So I just powered it off and sat there for a minute. And I thought, well, that was part of the solution, but now I have to turn it back on, which I did. And that seemed to clear it. But at the end of the service, this little lady came up to me and she said, that was the most meaningful Maundy, Thursday service I've ever been to. The way you had the whole world just howling in agony. And then you just had this silence. And then there was this beautiful song, Processional to the Cross. Wow. And all's well that ends well, I guess.
If you can't be good, at least make it look like it was intended to be that way, huh?
I guess.
That would be a good one to have. That would be a good one to have.
I don't believe it. My savings are gone. They're gone.
You're kidding.
Nope, they're gone. They're gone.
Okay, all right. Think about it. Where did you have them last?
I remember I was home, then I took them, and then I spent them on that vacation to Aruba. Then I bought this miniature suit of armor I saw in the in-flight magazine.
And that's the last you saw of your savings?
Yes.
This is so weird.
I know, right?
Weird? Not really. Not saving now means no money later. You'd be surprised how quickly a little money from every paycheck can really add up. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
The armor is cool, though. Oops. I think I broke its gauntlet.
You broke my favorite part.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Have you ever had any kind of animals or anything in the church? Dogs or anything that distracted you or anything at all?
Well, I've had few mice that ran under the pedal boards. The most colorful one was when I was at a church in Cary, North Carolina, and I had a skink run under the organ. A skink is a little lizard that's kind of bright blue. And I kept my composure doing that.
Well, let me back up just one step there. So, like, when the mice run underneath the pedals, you're not the type of person, and I don't mean to be stereotypical, but you're not the type of person who, like, will jump up and stand on the organ bench then when it happens?
Well, when I'm at home, I stand on the kitchen table, but if it's during a service, I stay on the bench.
Got it, okay. All right. Anyway, so what was the skink doing then?
Well, he was just enjoying things, and he came dashing out from the pews and ran under my organ pedal board. I don't know where he went.
Oh, man, the skink. I hate it when skinks run under my pedal boards, too. Okay, this is Comedy Parenting Radio. We're going to be back in just a moment. Thanks for joining us.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Just hold everything, everybody.
Hold on tight. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen.
I think that's all the funny stories I know.
Okay, we're back with Comedy Parenting Radio, and we got Nancy in the studio with one more funny story before we go today.
I'm pretty serious, you know. I'm a classically trained musician playing a pipe organ. Let me see. Oh, just little dumb things happen, like you have the wrong color stole on because you went down before the choir.
What's a stole?
Well, choirs wear robes, and a lot of them have stoles. They'll wear a different color depending on the season of the year.
So I'm sorry, what's a stole then?
It's just a little collar thing that goes
it's a
up.
collar. So you had the wrong colored collar.
Yeah, I have a different color.
That can really set the
Well,
church
yeah,
on
if I have
fire.
red on and they kind of have burnt orange or something,
Oh,
I mean,
my
it's
word.
awful.
Yeah, the fashion police are all over you there. The guy with the brass knob will come after you in that case. All right, this has been Comedy Parenting Radio. Jerry Bigley, your host. We had Nancy in here with Church Organist Horror Stories. Thanks for joining us, Nancy.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And we'll catch you guys next time at the other end of the church service. Bye-bye now.
You're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio.